Hopefulness 2.0, April 23rd. This got a little bit more action than I expected. I didn't even feed it last night. Look how fucking full it is. It's crazy. It was like down here yesterday morning. That is pretty much all air. Like, that volume is just all air. That's insane. It's starting to get a little ripe, too. It's getting that souriness. Like, I literally, like, right before this video, I noticed it. I was like, holy shit, wow. So, yeah. But now I gotta dump some of it out and then put some more flour and water in it. Because I forgot to feed it last night, and I'm gonna try to feed it again later today. That's so cool. A little bit of liquid. Must be the hooch. Apparently that's the name for the liquidy stuff. Just don't want to get rid of all of it. It's really elastic. It wants to it wants to come out. Let's sit there for the time being. Alright. And I got like, what was it? 6 bananas that should be enough for the banana bread in the coming days. I don't know why, but right now I have that Weezer song, ooh, wee, ooh, I look just like Buddy Holly. Oh, oh, and Mary Tyler Moore. I don't know why, but that's in my head right now. And it's just the chorus, nothing else. Like, I didn't even wake up to it. It just kind of started a little bit after the fact. I'm like, what are you doing, brain? Shit, I forgot to stir while the liquid was in there on its own. Because it ends up being... So if you pour the liquid in first, then stir, it ends up being easier to incorporate the flour. Got that tip from Claire too. And it is very true. Damn it. Oops, it doesn't go there. It goes in here. I was going to put it in the fridge. It's like, oh, that's not where you belong. Gotta wash up some dishes because I gotta wash dishes. But I decided that I wanted to eat a banana. I was like, well, see what I can accomplish. Let's see how many bananas I have. I should have enough for the banana bread if I eat 2 of them. And I decided to pull out the 2 smallest to be consumed, so. So yeah, yesterday I set this out, and I was like, alright, I'll go ahead and feed it at night. And I forgot to. And then I wake up right before I start recording. It's like, oh, this thing is like fucking full. Alright. Good to know. Alright, don't want to go crazy on that. Just trying to get rid of all the not all of it is going to be fully incorporated, unfortunately, but it's whatever. Let that sit there like it was. Almost always end up throwing a little bit of flour on there, but it's whatever. So I was thinking about, containers and stuff, because like the flour being what it is, and how kind of annoying it is to get the flour stuck in the little channels that then make it difficult or impossible to close it. I was like, well, it'd be nice to have some kind of like container that you just pop the top open and dump stuff out or whatever. And I'd been looking at I was watching a lot of Claire videos last night. It very much is kind of like a kind of therapy watching her. I just feel better. She's got one of the best laughs ever. And, she's great at teaching. Whenever I've followed her instructions correctly, obviously you have to use some of your own intuitions and stuff. It's like, when a thing like pat a choux, for instance, needs to be finished cooking before you start putting in the eggs, there's certain indicators that you're looking for. A little bit on the shiny side, you see some steam coming off. It's definitely easier, I would think anyway, because I can't prove how much easier it is, but I'm sure it's much, much easier to do so, to make pat a choux with a stand mixer. But you still have to follow some of the basic tenets, especially because like when you first start, you've got to cook it on the stovetop. There's the water and the milk, and I believe some salt. And then you throw in the flour and create the dough that way. And then incorporate the eggs after the fact. And it looks really weird at first when it's trying to mix, but then it starts to actually become more homogeneous. So and I did put some buttermilk in my smoothie yesterday, which is why this is the way it is. But I don't think that it made much of a difference because the buttermilk was only like a day old. There wasn't much else to, I had put a little bit of the vinegar in it and that was it. Whereas the first buttermilk that I made, I threw some lemon juice in it, and then it sat for, I don't even know how long. It sat for a while, at least 4 or 5 days in the fridge. And it became, a lot of the water in it evaporated. It became rather chunky. Now, generally speaking, that's usually not what you want, but that is what you want with buttermilk. And so I'm like, well, let's see what happens in 2 days. So tomorrow, we'll see what happens and how it looks and all that, because I've got some in the fridge right now. So yeah, I fed this. I'm going to feed it again later today. Man, look at this. Look at how loose it is. It's so airy. It's crazy. Like right now would be more or less the perfect time to use it if I was going to use some starter in something. But it's going to go in the fridge so that I can sort of deactivate, and then I can incorporate it later. So that's approximately 150, because I didn't weigh it out or anything. But based on proportions, it's about 3/4 of what was in there. And so I'm going for about 150 of each. And I've got to kind of keep that in mind when it comes to, excuse me, making pizza tomorrow. Because effectively what I'm doing is, so like, I'm going to be kind of using Adam's recipe for the most part. For his pizza dough. Because Claire doesn't, she's got one video that I'm aware of that, you know, incorporates pizza, and it's the cast iron pizza that she uses with her, think of this, King of Regular bacon? I don't remember. No, it doesn't matter. But that's the only recipe she has for pizza dough, whereas Adam Ragusa has like 6 videos or something about pizza. Like, he's got at least 6. I mean, that's where his first, like, big, I think it's either his pizza recipe or his cookie recipe. It may have been the pizza recipe, I think. Went viral. And I think it was shared on Reddit and all other places. And I think that's where I found out about him too. And then his cookie recipe too, I believe, also went viral and was also shared in Reddit and other places. And so I think that's, I can't remember, honestly. It doesn't matter. But pretty sure his pizza recipe is the one that got him all the attention. And you know, he'd already, you know, it's a rather old video and everything, but, you know, he's definitely changed his game up quite a bit since then. And in so doing, he'll go back, he'll look at one thing, and, you know, he'll change something up, or he'll try to figure out another method of cooking something, and so on and so forth. And but what he does is what he likes is that he'll make the dough, and then he'll separate it out, put it in bowls, and put it in the fridge. So it kind of does like a slow ferment. And in a way, I'm kind of doing a combination of them, whereas I'm using starter discard to create the first ferment, and then allowing it to kind of, you know, become more tangy over time in the fridge, you know, cool off and all that stuff, and, you know, settle down. So that's what I'm working on doing right now, and that's why I want to do the pizza thing tomorrow. Because today, well, what day is today? Today's Saturday. Today was the day that I was actually considering doing it. I don't know. We'll see. I might do it. I might do it today. Tomorrow I might not. It depends. I gotta be on the phone call with my friend about the pre-interview stuff. Oh wait, I already took one. Damn it. See, this is one of the problems with my brain. Sometimes I forget to take my meds. Sometimes I forget that I already took my meds. At least today I didn't wake up at 12:30. I'm gonna try to wake up earlier tomorrow, which means I gotta go to bed at a reasonable time at night. Main issue that I have with just see, okay, so this is a problem. When employers have certain hours, but you don't. Now, some might say, well, you're unemployed. You should be able to just go to work whenever. But the thing is like, I have lived largely a life of evening or overnights. And it's extremely difficult to change that. Now, you could be saying, well, you're up at 10:30 right now. There shouldn't be a problem getting to Pasadena. Like, if you decided to want to go to Pasadena right now, get there by 1 o'clock, you should be fine. Kinda. Thing is that just based on Google Maps, it's at least an hour 15 to close to an hour and a half. It's closer to an hour and a half. And that's if everything goes well. That's if everything is timed right. And you get on the one train, and then you get there on time, and then you get on the other train, and then you get there on time, and so on and so forth. But that's not always how it works. So you have to incorporate additional time. They might say, well, that's still 2 hours. Yeah. But I wouldn't be prepared to leave right now. I'd have to, and that's the thing. It's like, I would have to literally stop what I'm doing, go take a shower, get ready, try not to forget something. Like, that's part of the process of me getting up in the day. It's not even so much like getting motivated or anything. It's, sometimes it is, of course. It depends on so many factors. But trying to slow down enough so that I feel ready. Part of that being, do I have what I need for the day? Like, am I going to need to eat while I'm there? If I'm going to need to eat while I'm there, what do I bring with me? If that's not enough, then do I have alternatives, etc.? So, like, if these shifts are 8-hour shifts plus an hour, 30 minutes or an hour lunch, that's 9 hours or thereabouts of just being at work. On top of that, though, that's an additional 3-ish plus hours of commute. So it's half the day gone. So an entire 12-hour period is not necessarily the best way to look at your life and say, yeah, I think, a couple power bars or something's going to be fine. No, it's not going to work like that. And so that's like part of the deal, is understanding these things about yourself and understanding things about the day-to-day. So, like, one of the things I used to do all the time when I was going to school or going to work and stuff and whatnot, is that I would usually fill this thing up with like the sole purpose of buying this, because I have the other pieces. It's a blender bottle. I have a little blendy ball thingy, which I think honestly is one of the best pieces of engineering I've ever witnessed in my life. Like, it's nice and flat, and then it pops back up into a very spherical. I love it. It's great. Here's the lid for it. It's got a nice solid seal. Like, that thing doesn't snap open. And it twists on really tightly. And so I would dump in, some protein powder, some milk, throw in some extra water. It got to the point where I would throw in a little extra, like, sour cream, maybe a touch of yogurt sometimes. It was usually kind of like a milk sour cream combination. Um, and then I would make it, and I would have it sit in the fridge overnight. But then it got to the point where, especially when I had early morning classes, I'm talking like 9, sometimes 7 in the morning, and that's fucking early for me. I'm usually not even near awake at that point, depending on circumstance, of course. And, adding something like school or work, and then the commutes that are associated, it changes up a lot of stuff when it comes to the day to day. And so I started buying these Stoke coffee shots that, and I knew about them because the coffee shop that I went to that had Wi-Fi that was relatively, sort of central back when I was homeless in the early 2010s, they had them available. And so whenever, people, especially a lot of times people, part of the homeless crew that I was with, and most of the homeless crew that I was with was Occupy Wall Street people, a few of them, they would stock up on them whenever they got an opportunity. And so that's where I learned about them. And then so I found out on Amazon you can buy like a big fucking, like 150-ish or whatever it was. And so that's what I started buying. And then I would dump like 1 or 2 of them into into my protein shake in the morning. And then that was also one of the reasons why I would throw in some of the extra stuff, like the sour cream and whatnot. And it wasn't a whole lot, but it was just enough to kind of create this really nice, thick body of a drink. And then I would, there would be days where I would literally make it and then just head out, or I would chug the fuck out of it. And then there were days where I started, I was like, I need to be a little bit more proactive about this. And so I would make it the night before, and in so doing though, it also became much more homogeneous and mixed better. Whereas, when you're just doing it this way, it mixes, but it's still, it doesn't mix as well. Not when you're mixing all that stuff together. So, that's a thing that I would do. And then I would also, often have, like a Cliff Bar or something with it too. Or before I would go to school, I would get that cottage cheese is a big deal for me when it comes to, especially all day energy type stuff. Plus, what is it I'm thinking of? Quick and easy breakfast. And so what I would do often is I would get I think typically 1 serving of cottage cheese would be 113 grams roughly. I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Hopefully it's the only time I gotta. It's not the only time today, that's for sure, but hopefully it's the only time right now. I got another piece just in case. But yeah, so it's I'd scarf down, 2 servings of cottage cheese and either some milk or some water, and then I'd be on my way somewhere. And if it was with school, for instance, let's say it was I had an early day that day, I wasn't gonna bring food with me. It just never happened. There were usually options available in some way or another. Usually it was the Carl's Jr. across the street, or the 7-Eleven, or not the 7-Eleven, but the, because there was the Carl's Jr., then there was the, Jack in the Box, there was McDonald's, but then there was also on-site stuff, and all that obviously was largely expensive, but it depended on circumstance too. So maybe I would scarf down the cottage cheese and the milk and or water. Milk, especially whole milk, it's got more fat, more instead of just having, because like that's one of the issues with whole milk versus like skim milk. Skim milk has so little fat in it, if that, it's basically sugar water at that point, because you're just dealing with lactose. And then you're gonna get hungry faster because you don't have, like, yeah, there's some proteins in it, and not a lot comparatively. I mean, it's basically just whey and lactose and water, and you're not going to have, the various lipids. And whole milk versus skim milk is it's not that different. It's like, so you have 1% and 2% in skim, right? 1% is 1% fat by volume, right? 2% is 2%. Whole milk is what? They don't say. But it's only 4%. That's it. It's only 4% fat by volume. So yeah, if you do 1% versus 4%, you're drinking 4 times the fat. But here's part of the problem. The whole anti-fat craze that happened largely in the 80s, and then that had such a long-lasting sort of campaign, if you will, because it was a campaign, was something that, like, the sugar and soda companies pushed fucking hard. Corn subsidies started in the 80s, and then that's where all the fucking corn syrup came from. And then corn syrup is in fucking everything. And then we're like, hey, we don't want to have people who are super fat, so fat's obviously bad. That's not how that works. Like, it's a calories in, calories out thing, more than anything else. And carbohydrates, sugars, rice, bread, etc., those things, what is at the very bottom of the fucking food pyramid from back in the day, and then whatever the fuck we have now with that weird ass triangle shit. I think we now have something that's more akin to what looks like a plate, but even then the whole thing is, it's all kind of stupid. But the very bottom of the food pyramid, back when I was a kid, grains and bread and shit, and that's a fuck ton of carbs, processed or otherwise. And yeah, they're staple foods, but that was pushed by, like, I can't remember what organization, but not a government agency who is trying to figure out your best method of healthy. No, it was like lobbies and shit pushing for their product to be at the very bottom. It's like, ooh. And I mean, like, the whole thing was so skewed and shit, and it was all fucked up. I mean, that's why, and then there was the milk lobbies and companies and stuff like that with the whole milk does the body good and all that crap, and with the big bones and shit. Yeah, you get a little bigger with some bones, like by 1 centimeter on average, tops. 1 centimeter. That's the thickness of my pinky. But anyway, going into the wrong direction. Food is necessary for your everyday survival, of course, duh. The more you can cook, the more you can prep, the better. So like today, for instance, I'm going to cook up all my chicken thighs, because I didn't do so yesterday. I was thinking of doing it. I wasn't planning on doing it, though. But I'll do it today. And then I'll have the bones to prep for some broth. And then once the broth is made, then I can make some more of my rice with the chicken broth, because it was great. But I'm going to save some of it, and because, like, last time when I made it, admittedly it's pretty fucking good on its, just with just rice and chicken broth. It's really fucking good. But I'll do the chicken broth because I've got, a whole onion. I got some carrots that are in the fridge, in the freezer rather. And then, I can chop those up, throw them in there. I don't have any celery, so I can't have a full-on mirepoix, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then I can make my broth again, and then save it up. Mix it in with rice, make some good rice, and then I'll have chicken and rice, and I'll have chicken flavored rice with then having actual chicken in it. And so yeah. And so I'm trying to restart my staples. At the same time, if I don't get this job, then, you know, who knows what the fuck will happen. And, you know, if the hours suck or if the pay sucks or something like that, then, you know, it's going to be another issue. But, yeah. But on this whole front, it's like, what do you have to do to sustain yourself throughout the day? What measures should you take, and so on and so on and so on. And, you know, these are things that I have to plan for. These are the things that I have to look at when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, like, I don't have any protein powder, but I might later on, I don't know. Because, like, one of the things that I would do is once I was done drinking this, I would usually have, like, a bottle of water, and then I would dump it in there. To help kind of clear it out. Also, you know, school has like filtered water fountains throughout the campus, so I could fill it up, drink it, and it would be largely clear of, you know, all the other stuff that I had in it. And so I was like, all right, cool. So it's largely clean by the time I take it home. So I just got to throw in a little bit of soap and water, you know, just kind of a basic scrub, and didn't have anything like crusty or anything on it. And I was using it all day in order to keep myself hydrated. And so, like, that was, you know, for me, a really efficient way of going about, you know, keeping myself fed and hydrated. And that was just kind of like morning stuff. You know, if I had to be there all day, then it was different. Then I would find some other place to go eat. Sometimes I didn't have a lot of time, and so I would just go hit up the spot that was on campus that sold like some fresh foods and stuff. Sometimes burgers, you can get pizzas and stuff like that. Not the healthiest, but it does the job. Because, I mean, trying to carry, like, sure, there were some days where I would bring, like, you know, I'd bring like a container, you know. I don't have either one of them with me right now at the moment because I think they're under the sink. But, you know, let's say I brought this with me. I wouldn't bring this with me. I would bring one of my plastic ones with me. But I would bring something akin to this with me. So, and it would have, you know, let's say, just for instance, some rice and chicken in it. That way, I had something to eat. And then they had microwaves on site. Used to be they only had one. And I think the last time I was there, they had like 2 or 3. Because that's the smarter way to go. But also one of the things I was thinking about yesterday is like, if the job goes well, what am I going to pick up? What are some things that I need? And I actually already have some stuff in my Amazon cart. And even though I don't really want to be using Amazon that much, right now, it's kind of one of the only ways to get most of the stuff that I need. But, at least when it comes to bulk, because, you know, I don't have a car. Otherwise, you know, I'd go up to like a restaurant supply depot or some shit like that. And you might say, well, there's some alternatives. What are the other alternatives? Target, Walmart. Those are the main alternatives. That ship. Because again, otherwise I have to carry it all. And if it's a lot of bulky shit, it's harder to carry. You know, it's like, if I wanted to get one of these because I didn't have one for whatever reason, it would be much more difficult. Because I would have to carry whatever, you know, the box that it came in and stuff. The same thing goes for, you know, like the blenders and shit that I got. So, you know, convenience aside, it's practicality as well. And so I was like looking at what stuff that I was thinking of, and I've got, you know, a good chunk of things in the cart right now that, you know, I've got like a 5-quart mixing bowl, and I was like, how big is 5 quarts really? Like, I know that's bigger than a gallon because a gallon is 4 quarts, so it's 1.25 gallons. But how much is 5 quarts? So the only thing I could think of was to take that bowl that I have, and I took this cup, measuring cup. It's got a 2-cup volume. Obviously, it goes more than that because it's top, but go up to 2 cups, and I dumped in as many as I could. And I found out that is just at like 2.5 quarts. And I'm like, that is good to know, because I can do most of what I need to in that bowl, but it's not enough volume. I need more. Well, 5 quarts twice it. So I'm like, that'll be totally enough. And it is a bowl that's not like 5 feet fucking wide. You know, they had some mixing bowls at Smart and Final, but they didn't have anything that was like on the slightly taller, narrower side that were still big. It was like, here, have some giant toss bowls that are 3 feet in diameter. And it's like, what the fuck? I don't need that. It also takes up a ton of space. Trying to figure out where to put one of those. I mean, it would already be paying enough as is based on what I've got. But a 5-quart mixing bowl, while still big, will at least be easier to manage space-wise, because I don't have a whole lot of countertop space. I've got a decent amount, but not a lot. So yeah, it's just trying to figure out this thing and that thing and all this other stuff. So, you know, I've got like some cake testers that are in there, and I may not buy it all when the time comes. It may just be mixing bowl and hand mixer. I don't know. Although cake testers are pretty damn useful. I'm gonna fart. Got a little bit of a belly gurgle in the process. That was cool. But, yeah, so just got a couple of things I gotta do today. I gotta start, I'm gonna do ironing tomorrow. Do some pizza later today. Possibly tomorrow. We'll see. I might wait. I don't know. We'll see. And if I do get the job, then obviously, you know, things will change. And I mean, I'll still try to do these videos every day, even though I don't really know why I'm still doing them, but it's whatever. It's document. Well, you know, like I said before, it's documentation. It's, you know, if I can do this every day, and apparently one of the videos did in fact upload, it just didn't show for like the longest time for some reason. I guess processing was like, hey, we're fucking around. So far, I have, as far as I can tell, uploaded a video every day. Some days it was the day later, but it was the video of the day before. But I've recorded one every day, and I've uploaded it, from what I can tell, it is. And we'll see from there. I don't know. But, you gotta do some dishes. Which will help me prep other stuff. So, have fun.